Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I am your host, Shane McInnes, and I am running a little bit behind today, even though I have done basically nothing of consequence all day long. That's right, I got a summer, and it's like 1 day or 2 days long. Hey, everybody, how's it going? Fidelia, KP, Graythar, my lovely wife, hello. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Thursday. Hey, Joe, how's it going? It's been an interesting week. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Kyle. And thank you, Kyle, for that Twitch Prime subscription. I don't know if you got the noise or the announcement. Hey, Daria. And welcome. Let me go to the alert box. Everybody that subs gets to hear the Spartacus. Pretty good. Just got your stuff from Daria. Awesome. Everybody, Daria has an online store. Go check out her artwork. Daria, if you want to put the link in there, go for it. Daria makes great art. You should go look at it. I have some... I have a piece of her art myself, and I just realized that I didn't show it off on stream. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that later as a bit of a cool thing. It's an awesome piece of artwork, and I am very much pleased with Oni. What am I doing here? I'm supposed to be playing the sub announcement. So this goes out to the Kyle Wright, the only Kyle Wright. And it's going to look like it's a test, but this is for you, bud.
I'm Spartacus.
Oh, Daria. Oh, man. Way too much information. We totally don't need that. Oh. Welcome to the stream where we try to have fun and talk about history and toilets. I'm Smarticus. This last week has been an interesting week. There's been a lot of developments with the world. There's been a lot of developments in personal life stuff. I hope you all are keeping the heads above the water. I hope everybody is weathering the storm. Yeah, we talk about poop a lot. Let me remind you of our slogan, which comes from the wise cookie. We all have a lot more in common than it seems. Right? Came out of a fortune cookie, so you know it's got to be true. Welcome, everybody. I do have a little bit of a thing. This is our official 20th episode of Adventures in History. Now, we've had more than 20 episodes total if you want to count the viewer request stuff, but this is sort of a bit of a milestone here. I honestly did not think when I started doing this back as kind of a stopgap mechanism when I was teaching last semester that this would turn into something where I'd end up having a web show and have friends that show up and, yeah, episode venti. We could be all trendy and use quasi-Italian sounding words. But thank you all. I know I say thanks at the end of every episode, but I really do mean it. Life's been tough for everybody, I think, the last few months. And I mean, life's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world either, but I look forward to having some time where we can all get together and talk and goof off and share some laughs. And I really do appreciate you all coming by. Your support means a lot. And I'm not going to go get mushy. I could very easily get mushy. Kind of had an emotional moment earlier in the day when I thought about this, but thank you all, seriously, very much. All that you have done has helped me. Does my impending back to work schedule mean change in streaming? I hope not. I am going to do my absolute darndest uh, to make sure that it doesn't change the streaming schedule. It's going to be tough because this semester is going to be very different than any semester that I've ever taught. It's going to be kind of crazy. There's going to be a lot of additional work on my end.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
No, I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Thank you, Daria. Much appreciated. Seriously, thank you all. I'm going to try to not have work affect streaming schedule, but we're going to see. We're going to pretend like it isn't, and then if it does, we'll roll with the punches. It might be that instead of having a set schedule, I try to move the episodes around to whenever I can. I don't want to change the schedule. I like the schedule the way that it is. So we'll see. I don't want it to, but we'll possibly see. Also, because it is a little bit of a kind of milestone mark here, Christopher Walken. I got a fever, and the only thing that'll solve it is more history. The Christopher Walken comma is a bit different than the regular comma because it goes between different words as you might not expect it to. I've seen memes in my little history world where it's like without the Oxford comma, with the Oxford comma, and then like the Christopher Walken comma, and then there's the Captain Kirk or the William Shatner comma, which is after every word, and you pause dramatically for effect. Asa, I'm sorry that you had a terrible day. I hope that we can make it better. We are super laid back, as you know. Please feel free to laugh, make puns. If you need to unload, we will absolutely listen to you unload. Work sucks. That's why they don't call it fun. But I very much feel you. We've all had those days. So I hope that you can have a bit of a brief respite from the crazy, crazy world. I'm glad you did a Shatner as well. Just regretting not asking for that. Also, there's a free one for you. I don't know if you all have ever heard William Shatner's solo album of music, but he actually did release an album of songs. One of them is a cover of Common People. One of them is a cover of Rocket Man. I want to be like common people. I want to live like common people live. Yeah, there's also a song on there called Has Been. William Shatner's Has Been. Yeah, most of it's on YouTube. If you haven't ever heard the song Has Been by William Shatner, you got to go look that up eventually. Yeah, songs, some of them are just like his weird spoken word over music. Better and worse are such weird designators when you're talking about Shatner and Nimoy. Nimoy's album was very skillfully put together. Shatner's is not, but that doesn't mean that Shatner's isn't better than Nimoy's in certain ways. Yeah, Nimoy has some good stuff. Anyway, what I was trying to get around to is that because it is a 20th episode thing, and also because my wife, hey Glitchbob, it's a really good version of Rock It Man. It's pretty good stuff. Anyway, let me get to this. I do love the banter though. My lovely wife has decided that she's going to start occasionally doing artwork, and we will be giving it away on stream. And it is, yeah, I know. it is history stream related. So if you were with us last time, we talked about Assyria, and we talked especially about a lot of Assyrian kings. So my wife has made something that she calls, let me see if I can get this right, the Assyrian King Starter Pack. And she has drawn a great little image of an Assyrian king here. And if you can see, she's added some neat little things like cool hat, beard made of ramen. Yeah, yeah. Wrist wear, which is, pretty important. Random pine cone. But perhaps my favorite, name with less than or equal to 4 syllables. So, we will be giving this away at the end of the stream. I don't know if I can get it to international stuff. I have literally never mailed anything internationally. So I'd be happy to try that, but I don't know if I could. It's a greater than. Oh, so name is greater than or equal to 4 syllables. Sorry, apologies. My math is not my strong suit. But so we'll be giving that away later. How large is it? It's roughly equitable to my head, so pretty freaking large. Graythar, I would absolutely help work that out. We can figure out how to get it there. It's probably, I don't know, that big. It's big enough that it'll fit in an envelope. Yeah. If it's just a letter, it's just the cost of a stamp. Yeah, we'll have to get an international stamp. I don't know where to get those. We can maybe even mail those off or run those off the internet. So we'll figure it out if it gets there. So that's coming up later. I do want to remind everybody. I am going to scan those, and I'll be throwing those up on the Discord. Which brings us to the Discord channel. If you are not already signed up on the Discord, please feel free to do so. You're not under any implication to do so or any involvement. I know that's a thing that a lot of people are doing. I've kind of had fun with it so far. I share nerdy memes and pictures of donuts that my wife makes me. My wife is amazing, by the way. And I'm not just saying that because she's just in the other room listening to me. She really is. I'm appreciative of that. A lot of time of international stamps. Yes, we do need to support the post office. I feel like I need to do a history of the post office just to explain how, I don't know, lopsided the current political stuff. No, she's really not. I can pan. She's not off screen. So technically she's just behind the laptop and you can't see her. Alrighty. You have a podcast about that? Cool. All right. I do want to remind everybody about channel points, by the way. They're called adventure points in the channel because this is Adventures in History. So below your chat, you'll see a little picture of the adventure hat. Beside that, you'll see the number of points that you have. I tried to give a really long span of things so that everybody could interact. So if you show up and you click follow and then you do a raid with me, you can do most of the stuff. Pretty Way takes her hand away from the chain that opens the trapdoor under. Oh, yeah. I didn't know it was a chain. I thought it was like a button. But technically, this end of our house is built up a little bit. We're on the side of a hill, so you could theoretically drop me. Blink twice if I need a rescue. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay. So feel free to use channel points whenever you get the inclination. I'm going to be wearing the adventure hat a lot this episode. I was thinking about what to do specifically for this episode. And the the problem, and it's not really a problem, but the issue with the time period that we're at chronologically is that there's just so much stuff going on. We're getting to the point after civilizations start to kind of get out of the Bronze Age collapse era where lots of stuff starts happening really, really quick. And the span of time from about 700 BC to about 600 BC is one of, and if you want to extend that to like the 700s and the 600s BC, those 2 centuries are massively important to the world that we live in today, and people know very, very little about them. A lot of the civilizations that began the culture that is what we call today Western culture are going to start putting themselves together during these 2 centuries. A lot of the larger kind of cultural ideas that exist in the world today across the world are going to come from this period of time. And part of it is because the end of the Bronze Age collapse was really the last giant sort of pan-continental cultural flop. Now, there were several before that. During the Ice Ages, the population of humanity dropped down to somewhere around, the low estimates are less than 30,000 people on the entire world because of catastrophic climatic events. But this big Bronze Age collapse in the 1100s is kind of the last big one. So the cultures that we live in today, if you go anywhere around the world, if you go to China or India or Central Asia or Europe or Africa or even the United States, a lot of the cultural elements that we call our own can go right back to the last time culture had to put itself together again. And that's an important concept. So because it is somewhat of a kind of a momentous episode here of the 20th, we're going to be doing a bit of a survey, and we're going to hit a lot of high points, and we're going to lay some groundwork for the next time we show up and have discussions next week. And we're going to introduce some new players to the game that are going to be sort of big or I don't know, influential concepts later on down the road. So it's kind of hard to come up with a name for that. I also realized way too late that I didn't have a name for that, so we're going with 2 names. The 7th inning stretch, referring to the 7th century BC. Or isn't it ironic? Because this is the Iron Age. You can take those as you will. Introducing Jimmy Jr. Well, the culture that we live in today is kind of like the culture of Jimmy's like 18th great grandson. For those of you that don't know, or for those of you that haven't been here when we've talked about Jimmy before, Jimmy is the person that does all of the stuff wrong. Jimmy is the one that gets blamed for all the stuff, but Jimmy is also the one that has the guts to go do crazy stuff that ends up innovating things and fixing society. Right? So there has been lots of incarnations of Jimmy over history. Are you going mwah, mwah at my stream title? Ha ha ha. They're supposed to be bad, but also good. So there you go. All right. So let's pick up with a bit of our survey, and we'll start over in the furthest part of Asia that we've talked about. But and let's talk a little bit about China, and I do mean a little bit. We're going to hit some of the high points on a lot of these, and we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff all over the place tonight. We'll be on 3 different continents and talk about 7 or 8 different groups of people. And this is part of the reason that I do the show, again, because I want everybody to understand that history is a continuity, and that a lot of the stuff that we talk about is happening at the same time. And I think that's one of the things that modern history classes fail at really badly. They teach concepts, and they don't connect things on a timeline. So that's the reason Thursday nights are always chronological order, so that we know what's happening and what we're building on and what's happening around the same time period and what's influencing other things and things of that nature. So let's talk about China. Where we last talked about China, we were talking about the Zhou dynasty. That is spelled Zhou, but there you go. And by the way, if you want to go back and catch any of these old episodes, they're all still on the VODs. Under the highlight section, I've tried to make sure that I highlight all of the episodes so that you can go back and watch this stuff if you want to. Again, you don't have to watch them in order, or you don't have to watch them to keep up with what's going on. Every episode will stand by itself. But I'll refer to stuff in things that we've covered in the past so that we don't have to go through like all of it again. That might stretch out into 4 or 5 hour long streams. And while I would appreciate that, I don't know if you all would. So the big chunk of China in the ancient world is this green side right here, especially this northern central chunk that's kind of right in here where all the big rivers are, the Yangtze River and the Yellow River. And the Zhou dynasty, we'll go over here to a map, was pretty big, but it splits in 771. And that's the last kind of thing that we talked about when we were discussing China, is the Zhou dynasty splitting and losing all of this land in the eastern part. It went from being the larger Zhou dynasty over here to the western Zhou. The new capital cities at Luoyang and Xi'an. The Zhou dynasty is still going to be in power during the 700s and 600s, but they're going to be losing power. The emperors are not going to be able to keep up with the growing strength of their vassals. The roles of generals are going to be much more important, and the big families of China are going to start pulling that apart. And one of the next things that we'll talk about when we cover China is the collapse of the Zhou dynasty and the beginning of something called the Warring States period, where there are 10 different big states in China all trying to vie for that one imperial position, which of course brings us to the Han dynasty, which is one of the longest ruling dynasties in Chinese history. But that's a little bit later. All right. So there's China, to give you a little bit of a taste about what's going on. The Zhou dynasty is still in power, but it's getting a little shaky over there. Now, on a viewer request episode, we talked about Southeastern Asia, especially the Khmer Kingdom, which is down here in what is modern-day Cambodia. That region is still not very highly developed at this point. There are Stone Age societies going on in Southeastern Asia, but they had just started getting into their earliest Bronze Age stuff, so we're not going to see really big civilizations or empires there yet. The oldest ones, stuff like the Funan, are going to show up a little bit later on. So Southeastern Asia and most of these islands down here are still pretty localized when it comes to their government, not necessarily organized under one big rule. And here comes India. So we haven't really talked about India that much for a while. The last time we talked about India was when the Aryan people came in from Central Asia and showed up and conquered India and then brought all of their Vedic ideas, and we talked about Hinduism and the growth of Hinduism. And then I mentioned that India sort of falls apart into all of these warring kings of various sizes, and we enter a period in Indian history called the Janapada era, which is just a word for kingdom. And this goes on for about 800 years. But around this time period, our 7th century or so BC, the Janapadas are going to begin moving towards a centralized rule. And they're going to cut themselves down from, at one point, somewhere near 40 of these to about 16. And this great kingdom period is what we call the Mahajanapada, because everybody wants 8 instances of the letter A in all of your words, right? Or is that 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 6. Mahajanapada. And to kind of give you an idea that this is still a little bit crazy, I do have a picture that I've dug up of the Mahajanapada era. And we still have all of these people. So the Mahajanapadas are the ones here that are big and colored in, but look at all of these small little kingdoms. So these are the smaller Janapadas, but the Mahajanapadas are ruling and in charge, and the little ones are mostly vassals or unaligned. So we're still going to see a lot of disunity in India. And that is going to be the case all the way up until after Alexander the Great in the 300s. So there's not centralized rule in India until the Guptas show up. And I don't know if you all know who the Guptas are, but it's not Sanjay Gupta. He is, I guess, from India, but I don't think it's his family. Or it might be. Who knows? Gupta is a very common name in India, by the way. And we'll talk about all of those people once they become, alive. At this point in history, those people were not even really twinkles yet, right? So the Mahajanapada period is what's going on over in India. All right, so there's that and there's that. We're going to get some new people groups, though, especially in what we call today Central Asia. This region right up here, where the Indo-Europeans had migrated. Remember, there's this big Indo-European migration that starts right around that 1200 mark that moves basically all over Central Asia, Eastern Europe, moves over into Western Europe, moves down into India with the Aryans, moves over into the Near East with people like the Mitanni and the Hittites. So these Indo-Europeans are going to be all over the place. But when they move out, that's going to leave a lot of room in this region for other groups to begin to expand. And one of the kingdoms that's going to slowly begin to put itself together in this 700s to 600 period of time are a group called the Scythians. And you can hear about these people in a lot of different ancient histories. If you read the Greek ancient histories, they're going to talk about the Scythians sort of as those people that live over there, right? They live on that other side of the big Black Sea. They're kind of like horse people. We don't really know very much about them. And of course, later Greeks actually do trade with them quite extensively. But when they first show up, oh no, not the Scythians. Yes, they are dark side. They they use red lightsabers. Not those kind of Sith. Silly bear. Scythians. Let me show you a map of Scythia, which is, again, beginning to formulate itself around this time. Okay, here we go. So this is, of course, the Black Sea, and this big chunk of territory right here, which stretches all the way over from the Caspian over into the Carpathian Mountains in what is modern-day Romania, is the Scythian Empire. And these people are going to be pretty interesting groups of people. They're going to show up first in the text of other people. And this is another one of these ancient peoples that we're only going to know a lot about because of their archaeology and because of what other people have said about them. Because the Scythians don't have a written language of their own. They're eventually going to adopt Greek writing, but that's much, much later in the 300s and 200s BC. So for several centuries, the only thing that we know about the Scythians comes from the cities of theirs that we have dug up, which are quite numerous. You can see lots of little spots where we've dug up big Scythian hordes of relics here. And what other people say. And they're going to show up all the time. Now, if you'll remember last week, and I know we talked about a lot of different rulers last week, and a lot of different Assyrian guys with funky names, like Adad Nerari and Shalmaneser and Esarhaddon and Tiglath-Pileser. And I know that you kept all of those straight in your head. But after the reign of Tiglath-Pileser III, the Scythians are going to become pretty instrumental in the Assyrian war game. If we look at the region that we're talking about, again, it's right here. Let me turn these borders off, actually, because I think it would be easier. Let me zoom in. Whee! Okay, so here's the Black Sea. And the Scythian territory is mostly this big chunk of Central Asia right around in here, also into, again, Eastern Europe. And Assyria is going to be expanding into this region right here. There's already a kingdom there. That kingdom's called Urartu, if you'll remember. It's based around this little lake right here called Lake Van. Well, it's actually not a little lake. It's actually quite large. But the Scythians are going to be on the other side of the Urartans, and the Assyrians are very frequently going to make deals with the Scythians to both trade and use them as mercenaries. And this is going to be one of the ways that the Scythians actually begin to form cohesive ideology, because if you're going to deal with the Assyrians, you don't want to show up as 60 different horse warlords and all try to work out individual deals with the Assyrian leadership. What they're going to want is for you all to pick a person that becomes the sort of de facto go-between. And this is actually going to help form a bit of a hierarchy inside the Scythian world, and that's going to lead them to being a larger independent kingdom and then later an empire. So the Scythians are going to be around for a while. They're going to show up again and again. They're going to very frequently be the source of really great horses. Central Asia is very much known for its horses. This will, of course, be Jimmy. I don't know to what Jimmy is being referred here. The Scythians end up being the Jimmy because it's like, hey, we want somebody to fight them. Who would fight them? Oh, get the Scythians. They'll fight anybody. Oh, maybe the Jimmy would be the guy that volunteers to be the mouthpiece for all of the Scythians and deals with the Assyrians. Because also, if, you know, is Jimmy a horse boy? He is a horsey boy. There's a kind of a cut both ways scenario. If you are the spokesperson of the Scythians and the people don't perform as desired, you're also the fall boy for the Assyrians when they show up to claim their debt. You know, we don't want to talk to all you horse lord warlords. We want to talk to Jimmy, because Jimmy's the one that promised that you would be here and you would do this and you would do that, and then you didn't do it. So there you go. But somebody's got to be the Jimmy, right? But the Scythians become an Iron Age technology really rapidly. I've got a really cool picture here of one of their swords. They are pretty neat little sword guys, swordy boys. You can see here, nice iron. There are lots of examples of these that have been excavated all over the place. Me trying to find one that was a good quality picture that was large enough for you all to see was a bit difficult, but if you Google Scythian stuff, you'll be able to find a lot of images. So there we go. Now, we've talked about Assyria, and before I switch back over, let me just go ahead and pop this map up right here. Assyria is the big dog. And we won't go through all of the stuff that we talked about last time. But I do want to show you, is that made of iron? Yes, the sword was an iron sword. It's remarkably well preserved for being iron. Let me go back and show you. Now, this has been restored and it's in a museum, so a lot of the rust has been taken off of it very, very delicately. And you would have had most likely either a leather or potentially a wooden handle down here, most likely wrapped leather for a handle. But yeah, it's pretty nice. Good iron sword. Made for both poking and cutting, because you've got this nice little pointy tip and you've got blades on both sides. It's really good for versatile typed fighting style stuff. You know, you can use this on a horse. You ride on your horse into the middle of the bad guys and just start swinging around wildly. You're going to cut something, but you can also use it, you know, kind of hand-to-hand combat. Did that half circle pommel hold something? No, actually, that's just the way that they did it. This is what's called a horned pommel, and some of them had lots of little teeth here. Like some of them have kind of a comb-looking thing that would come out the back. It's mostly for decoration. Some of it is a bit of a counterbalance, especially if you're using this. You know, if you're swinging this a lot from the back of a horse, your arm's going to get tired, and it's good to have a little bit of a counterbalance. But yeah, that's mostly decorative. That's a great question, though. Good times. All right. So here again is Assyria, and these guys are everywhere. The Assyrians are the dominant power of the Iron Age. If you had taken the Assyrian army and put them against an equal number of the Chinese, the Assyrians would have whipped them. Now, in the scheme of things, the Chinese would have most certainly won, but it was because of their population size. The population in China was just substantially larger than the population in most of the Middle East. Although, we've mentioned this multiple times, Nineveh at the time was the largest city on earth, with hundreds of thousands of people living there. And if you'll remember, Assyria had completely conquered Babylon. It had also completely conquered Egypt under Esarhaddon. It had conquered a lot of these Neo-Hittite cities up here, including Tarsus and Carchemish. Was working on beating up Urartu. These guys were the bad guys that make you stay up late at night. The Assyrians were super scary. They had all sorts of advanced weaponry. They had siege mechanics that could take your cities out. They had all sorts of mixed unit tactic fighting. These people were they were really the military apex of the Iron Age, and you didn't want to mess with them at all. And if you could avoid dealing with them, that was probably the best thing to do. But not everybody could avoid dealing with them because they were expanding and they were everywhere. Doesn't go on forever, but it does go on for a long time. Several hundred years, the Assyrians are the worst thing that you could fight. But the world is bigger than just the Assyrians. And if you'll remember when we were discussing the Bronze Age, there were lots of other civilizations that were beginning over in this region, especially the Hittites, but the Assyrians had taken most of the Hittite territory. But there were people over here, in these islands in the Aegean, especially the big island right here of Crete. There were the Minoan people right here. And then in several large cities on the Greek peninsula, the Balkan peninsula, you had the Mycenaeans. And of course, they had collapsed at the end of the Bronze Age. But this is going to be when Greece starts to pull itself back together. This period of time is remarkable for well, let me just throw this word out here. The Greeks are going to start rebuilding their cities. And the Greek word for city is polis. We get a lot of our English words from that word. We get, most notably, police, but also politician, political. All of that stuff comes from this Greek word polis, which just means city. But the idea of the city in the Greek world at this time is going to start formulating in a way that had a lot of different, metropolis, there you go. Big cities, right. So this is going to be when the Greek cities as we think of them, like if I say Athens in the ancient world, there's probably an image in your head that's going to go, I know what you're talking about, right? There's the Agora and there's the Acropolis where all the temples are and people are walking around and trading and talking and they're politicians. And that period of time where they start laying the foundation is literally this time because they are literally and figuratively laying foundations. A lot of the big cities in the Balkan Peninsula had been destroyed by invaders during the collapse of the Bronze Age. Some of the really big cities had been completely abandoned. I showed you several cities back on that particular discussion that once had 40,000 plus people that were never inhabited again. But during this period of time, people are going to start moving back into the cities. You're going to start seeing the development of local level population control with government, and you're going to start seeing the emergence of these Greek city-states. And this is going to be the foundation of classical Greece, which comes a little bit later. We call this period of time Archaic Greece. And they're going to figure out how to write again. The Mycenaeans had a written language. linear A and linear B. We've talked about that a little bit before, so we won't go back into that. But when the Mycenaeans collapsed, the Greeks lost language. And there aren't many written documents or inscriptions or anything writing that kind of comes out of Greece for hundreds and hundreds of years. But during this period of time, the Phoenicians come through, and the Phoenicians have with them this lovely script that can be easily adapted to lots of different languages. And the Greeks go, we're going to take that. And this is, of course, how we have our modern day alphabet, because our alphabet is based on the Phoenician script, because the Greeks stole it. I mean, how do you steal an alphabet? That's a fair question. I would say that they adopted it and then put their own little tweak on it. And that's how we have Greek writing, because this is going to be the time where they start writing stuff back down again. You're going to see coins show back up again. Oh yeah, inspired. We might say plagiarized. They took a lot of the letters and shifted them just a little bit, like 45 or 90 degrees. Some of them they flipped upside down. They could go, look, we made up our own letters. I changed 3 words in that sentence. That means I made that paragraph on my own. I'm really not looking forward to plagiarism again. I tell my students that I'll catch you doing it, and I catch them, and then they get mad at me, which is crazy. Like, how do you... It's like saying, hey, don't put your hand on the stove, and then touching the stove and yelling at the stove. Anyway, you're going to start seeing Greek city-states reissue coins. And coins are going to be super important markers of stability, right? You don't get coins in a post-apocalyptic, war zone. You end up with bottle caps or gasoline, right? Or using bullets as currency. You don't see people making money unless things are calm. Right, you just use caps, right? Nuka-Cola caps. If you like to know more about the history of the alphabet, there's a podcast called The History of the English Podcast. Oh, cool. History of English Podcast. I've always joked that English is 4 different languages hiding in a trench coat trying to pretend that it's one language. Our language is a mess. It is an absolute mess. And part of it's because of the Greeks. So it all kind of ties together. So we get more coins, and then we also see inter-Greek warfare. And I know that seems like a kind of a dumb thing. Like, how does that mean things are getting back together? Why is Greeks fighting Greeks a big deal? Well, most notably, they're fighting Greeks. They're not fighting invaders, right? If all of the wars for 300 years are you fighting this group of people that come up out of the north or come up out of the ocean and destroy your culture, and then you stop fighting because there are no more armies to be put together because everybody is either dead or gone over to raiding or trying to eke out an existence from a small farm, you don't really have Greek armies fighting Greek armies because there's nobody to marshal an army. But when you see these politics moving back together and you see kings and you see rulers in these city-states that are going to reestablish peace and start growing populations, well, guess what? When your population goes up, what do you have to have more of? It's always linked. Population is always linked to food. You've got to have food to have population. So when people aren't killing each other, population goes up, guess what? You need more food now. And that means that you either have to expand your farming territory, and you might be able to do that peacefully. You can add irrigation. You could maybe free up some land by big public works to clear rocks. And let me tell you, the soil in Greece is rocky as junk. There are not a lot of really big, wide stretches of super great farmland. You can ask Mac in a lab coat. Now we begin the Hunger Games. Kind of, sort of, right? Oh, may Zeus always be in your favor. You kind of don't want Zeus in your corner because he'll do horrible things to all of your ladies. Oh, Zeus. Anyway, but you start seeing these cities begin to expand their population and then expand their territory, and once those territories butt into each other, then it's time to go to war. And you start seeing in the 600s city-states fighting each other. And one of the biggest examples that I can reference to this is the big war that goes on between the city of Sparta and a smaller city that's just to its southwest called Messina. So Sparta sits... Well, hey, check this out. We can actually zoom in on Sparta. Sparti. Alright, so here's Sparta, and there's another city just down to the south and west called Messina. That is not Messina in Greece. There we go, Messini. So, there you've seen it. Now, Sparta is in this kind of larger valley. I should say this is Sparta. Yeah, thank you, Brittany, for making sure that somebody says this is Sparta. I should have brought pictures of Sparta. I could have done that. I've been to Sparta. It's a pretty cool place. They play music there very, very loud, late into the night. It's very much a kind of a young person city. They have decent hotels. I had a decent burger there. It wasn't the worst city that I was in Greece. Their agora is kind of... which is their kind of market city. It's very much a touristy kind of place, though. Anyway, so Sparta is going to conquer Messina. And it's going to completely enslave its population. And turn them into helots, which is a Spartan and Greek word for slave, basically. And that's going to be done because the Spartans want more food. But this sort of stuff is happening all over Greece. And you start seeing people not just build back cities, but they also start looking at stuff that we would recognize as leisure activity. And I'm going to put on the adventure hat because I do want to show you something that I think is pretty cool. So once again, the adventure hat is the hat that I take with me on all of my adventures abroad because I burn really easily and I don't like getting sunburn in my scalp or on my ears. Plus, I think it kind of looks cool. I know that I'm not really the definition of cool for anybody, but every cool archaeology trip needs a hat, and this is mine. Adventure. So I want to show you a couple of pictures here that are going to help me make my point. All right, so here's Assyria again. So if we look here at our Greek city-states, you're going to start seeing a lot of words that you might recognize. Stuff like Athens and Argos and Corinth and Sparta and Olympia. And these cities are going to be rebuilding their populations. They're going to be slowly but certainly coming out of this larger dark age. And they're going to be building new stuff. Lots and lots of new stuff. And I could show you pictures for that. Gosh, I probably have 1,000 pictures from Greece. Literally. This is my hat. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Absolutely, Kelly. I appreciate that reference like crazy. But let me show you this thing. And I think this is really neat, and I hope that you think it's really neat too. This is... Well, let me ask you all what this is. You tell me what you think this image is. And if you guess another weird-looking white boy with a hat on, yes, that's Mac in a lab coat, but I won't zoom in on him. You tell me what this image is. It's a theater. You are correct. This is at a place called Thorikos. Absolutely, amphitheater. Good calls. And the particular theater is important because it is according to what archaeologists understand right now, this might be the oldest theater in Greece. It is located about 25-30 minutes south of Athens, in a region that Athens would have controlled sort of by trade routes. And you can tell that it's not even really full out what we might call a classical amphitheater because it's square. So this is the kind of the playing area down here. You've been to Thoricos? If you've been to Thoricos, that's awesome, because I've never met another person alive other than Mac and a lab code that's been there. The beta model. This is right. That's exactly what I was getting at, Graythar. This is potentially the beta version of a Greek theater. Joe, so these would have been cut, and right down the hill, if you go a little bit down this path and around the side of this hill was actually where the quarry was, and the quarry was attached to an iron and silver mine, which was sort of under this hill right here. So they were digging out the stone to get to the natural resources under the hill, and then flaking out these nice flat pieces of granite to just move right over this hill and set up as the theater. But it's not a good theater, right? So if you look at a modern amphitheater, you know, we have all of these mathematical formulae that we place on them, and they're acoustically driven. And, you know, if you stand in the middle and you speak, it carries the right way and the walls are built the right way. This is a prototype. And one of the things that Mac and a lab coat and I did on purpose was try to get down here and make noise to see how well it carried. And it was pretty effective. But this isn't really a great theater. And if you want to, I can put a lot of pictures of this stuff up in the Discord if you all have desires. I don't want to give away too many of the good Greek pictures, because we'll come back and we'll talk about the Greeks again a little bit more in depth. I really just want to... hi, Brill Chic. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Greetings as well. Welcome to the stream. This is Adventures in History. If this is your first time in, we're talking about the 7th century BC and how cultures are pulling themselves. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you very much for the follow. So cool stuff going on here, and this is stuff that's happening during this period of time. So people are figuring stuff out. People are building new things. They are developing new technologies. They're working on building the kind of concepts that we would think of when we say stuff like ancient Greece or ancient Assyria, right? You love that animation. I think it pairs very well with the noise. And it looks like we have friends in the room. So I hope everybody feels welcome. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to entertain bad puns, dad jokes, uncle jokes, mom jokes, whatever kind of joke you want to make. I'll take criticism. I'll take whatever. As long as you're chill, we're all good, right? Okay, so things are happening. And the Greeks are pulling themselves out of the Dark Ages. That's the idea here. And by the way, for those of you that were interested, if you want to Google this stuff, and I do want to ask for clarification now. Fid, did you say that you had been to Thoricos, or that you had been to Olympia? Or that you had been to Athens? I don't know. You said you had been somewhere, and I want to know. I want to know. Oh, cool. Are you all over in... I recognize Maze emojis, or emotes. Goodness. Oh, you've been to Rhodes. Cool. I have not. We didn't get a chance to go there. We went to Crete instead, because I wanted to go see my Noah stuff. Rhodes would be neat to go to, though. I would definitely love to go to Rhodes. Anyway, so here's Thoricos, if you want to go look at that stuff. You have to double check your journal. Cool. Anybody want to go to Greece? I could definitely help you out. Give you some good places that you might want to go look at. Tucky and Daniel enjoy the history. Cool. It was a long time ago, but it looks... Okay, cool. Fun stuff to talk about. And if you all want to go over to the Discord and share pictures of places that you've been to, geek out on your own. Do your own history thing. Yeah, May is great. I really enjoy her room, her channel. If you all are familiar, Mighty May, Mighty Mae, really great streamer. So go check her out. Very cool. I was doing a charity stream today for some children's stuff. Stopped in on that for a little while. Okie dokie. Let's talk about some new people. Well, we've actually mentioned them. Rhodes was nice. Been there once. You all have been places that I've never been, and it's sort of making me jealous. But that's okay. We can all be friends. Let's talk about Carthage. We have mentioned Carthage once before, but we have not talked about them very much. So let me zoom out here on the map. Now, if you'll remember, those good old Phoenicians, one of the only people that survived the collapse of the Bronze Age in good shape, made a lot of different explorations, especially out into the western part of the Mediterranean. They got all the way out to the Atlantic, and they started settling colonies. And one of those was right over here in what is modern-day Tunisia. If you want to show the borders, I can do that. So this is modern-day Tunisia. Bill lives in Norway and lives on the ocean. I'm jealous. Oh, well, greetings from Norway. We have another fellow Northern European. Grethar is from Finland. My wife has been to Norway. I've never been to Norway. I've heard it's a beautiful place. My wife went up north of the Arctic Circle to an island, and I can't remember what the island's name. Maybe you can provide... Oh, there's Joey. There we go. There's another Scandinavian friend of the channel. What was the name of the island that you went to, Brittany, that had all of the puffins on it? I'm very jealous of the puffin sightings. Yeah. Hornoia? I just know that it was north of the Arctic Circle and it took them like 14 hours to drive there. So, cool beans. All right, so who is Carthage? I should go to Skellig Michael. If you want puffins. I'd love to go to a lot of places. On the southern tip of Norway, 5 minutes walk away from the ocean toward Denmark. Nice. Very nice. My wife has been to Denmark. I've never been to Denmark. I want to go up that way. I have Viking ancestry, and I know Viking is not the actual word for those people. Viking is sort of a catch-all term. I know that there are different tribes of people, and they're more technically or more accurately called the Norse people, or the Northmen. Oya Island. Oh, there we go. You want puffins? Skellig Michael was the island that was the real world set of Octo. Oh, so the puffins were the... oh, crud. What are the little things that were in Star Wars that I can't say now? The Porgs. They were the Porgs. Yeah. Skellig Michael. I had to put that on the list. Speaking of places where you can go to see Star Wars set stuff, Tunisia. Again, here. So, Tunisia. Boom. Play a game. There are several cities here on this coastline that were originally Phoenician trade cities. And yes, Tunisia was Tatooine for most of the desert scenes of Tatooine, and they were filmed in the deserts of Tunisia. But back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean, again, back in the 7th century BC, there was a really big city there called Carthage that was originally a Phoenician colony. So the Phoenicians had sent people over to that area and dropped them off. Carthage had become a really big city, and it had come to not only dominate this sort of coastal region right here in Tunisia, but it had started settling colonies of its own, especially on these islands here in the Mediterranean, islands like Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia, the Balearics over this way. They had started to move a little bit down the northern coast of Africa. Carthage is going to be a big powerhouse empire pretty soon. During this period of time, when all of this other weird stuff is going on in the Near East, and the Phoenician cities are under a lot of pressure from people, most notably the Assyrians, Carthage is going to take the opportunity to declare itself independent. Joy is saying, I don't have the special characters. Yes. You live in Christiansand, same as me. If so, you are Rex Hesty's uncle. Okay. If you want puffins, Netflix has a children's show called Puffin Rock, which is a fictionalized version of Skelly Michael, adorably cute. I don't know if I could handle that much adorable cuteness. You live where Vio grew up. I love the fact that you all are making international friendship connections in my room right now. That brings me lots of history heart. We are a community of people, and we're all so much more similar than we are different. And we find friends that we don't even know that we had. They live right down the road from us. And we could do it hanging out in a goofy-looking Americans channel from Mississippi. There we go. There we go. We live in a society. We do live in a society. And the thing about the 7th century BC is that society was spreading to all of these different places. And we're getting new individual components of people that are going to develop their own culture, like the Carthaginians who started off Phoenician, and they're going to end up being their own big ol' we are individuals, yes, but we are all friends. Now find me a date. I don't know if I could get anybody to... I don't know if you want me to tell everybody where you live. I know where you live, but I don't know if I have the money to fly somebody there if they... if they come from Norway. I don't know if I could get them there. But maybe you could do online dating? I don't know. I don't know, Kelly. I'll put it on the list. Daria's volunteering. Daria's going to send Zoom date, baby. Woo! The Love Boat. I met an American once who said to me, "So you're Norwegian, huh? Then you must know Frank." Sure, I know Frank. Oh, date the fruit. Oh, but not all dates are good dates. Some dates are bad dates. Anybody get that one? Yeah? Anybody? Oh no, I'm hooked up once the EU knows. Well, it's probably get cheap tickets. Oh yeah, there we go. Not the monkey. Oh yeah, the monkey. The monkey. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Indiana Jones reference. I don't want to get into any of that. I think that might have been a okay, cool. All right. I felt like that, but I didn't. I don't want to ever assume. Okay, so who is Carthage? What's going on? What's their deal? All right, so Carthage starts off being this trade city. So it's got these trade connections with all of the Mediterranean world. And the Assyrians began to dominate the eastern part of the Mediterranean because they basically controlled this entire chunk. So most of the southern coastline of Turkey, all of the Syria region, the Levant, and Egypt. So they've got this whole sort of corner where all of the really big cities are on lockdown market because they took over those big Phoenician cities. But this Western trade is beginning to turn into a bit of a thing. There are people out there, it turns out, and those people want cool stuff that comes from a broad variety of ports and locations, and Carthage is going to be the one that can supply that for them. Because, again, they're the Phoenicians originally, and they know where all of the other Phoenician cities are, and they have a built-in trade network. So when the old cities like Tyre and Byblos fall to the Assyrians, Carthage is going to move itself to step into that gap. And they're going to fill that void of trade partner in the western part of the Mediterranean. And they're going to trade like crazy. They're going to trade with the Greek city-states who are getting themselves back on their feet. They're going to trade with these people up here in Italy who are going to be, we'll talk about the Etruscans in just a moment. And the Carthaginians are going to trade with all these people over in Africa and the northern coast of Europe as well. So the Carthaginians are going to start getting around. But they start kind of going to seed, right? They're living amongst a people group that are different than them ethnically, linguistically, culturally. And this mix of native, at that time it would have been called the Libyan people group, or perhaps the Berber people group. This mix of native African and Phoenician is going to merge into a great union that we end up calling the Punic culture, which comes from Carthage. I was referring to the guy who thought I must know Frank. Maybe he thought so because Norway is so small. There we are. Joey, I think that it was a joke, and I maybe sent the wrong signal on my end. I was just about to ask who Frank is and why Norwegians would know him. I'm assuming he meant a random Frank who happens to live in Norway, right? So there we are. There has been a literal connection between people that know people that know people. Maybe Joey is the Norwegian version of Kevin Bacon, and everybody in Norway is only, 6 steps from Joey the Saint. Maybe we don't know. Oh man, that's going to be really... What if you all were at the same party and don't even know it? We're getting into flashback episodes from season 4 of a TV show where it turns out that guy that's the new character was actually there all along. Oh man, crazy times in the chat tonight. I love that. That's great though. Okay, so Punic culture. If you're familiar with the word Punic from the fact that Rome fights 3 different wars with these people, hold on, we'll get there. The Punic Wars with Rome, of course, are very, very large and damaging and cost thousands and thousands of people their lives, but that's not until a few centuries later. Fun fact, Nibbler's shadow is visible in the pilot episode of Futurama. I did not know that. Little Easter eggs, right? Got to remember to hydrate. I know that's a big thing, like everybody's got to hydrate. I actually do just need to hydrate because I'm sitting here running my mouth all the time. Okay, so Punic culture, Carthage, they become pretty big. Let me show you a map. Because everything's got to have a map, right? You guys know how much I love maps. I'm a cartophile, lover of maps. Okay. So all of this purple stuff that you see here is what one day becomes the Carthaginian Empire. So again, it's mostly here on this sort of Tunisian point of Africa, a little bit over into what is today Algeria, but lots of coastal territory, parts of the big islands here in the Mediterranean, southern part of Spain, what we call the Straits of Gibraltar, Carthagophile. Hey, Carthage is a pretty neat culture. I really like the ancient Carthaginians, and you don't really get a lot about them until they run into Rome. But it's worth noting that the reason that Rome runs into them is because Carthage was already there. Because Carthage was a big deal before Rome was anything. Rome was still a swampy, festering, low area between 7 hills full of mosquitoes at this point. That didn't even have a wall around it. That would have probably only been a couple of huts on top of the Palatine Hill. That's some condo developer level land acquisition. Yep. I'm a map. Yep. I love maps. Anyway, so there's Carthage at its extent. Cool stuff. Why would we want land more than 200 yards from the water? Because we can make it not water. The early kings of Rome, and I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, the early kings of Rome and the people of their time period did have some pretty ingenious examples of moving water around to create dry land. Most of the modern city of Rome legit used to be a giant festering swamp that was full of disease-ridden mosquitoes. Until they drained it. And then they're like, we can build a big old city. Woo, who knew? I didn't. All right, so I mentioned some people called the Etruscans. The Etruscans are another Iron Age culture that is going to... Oh man, I didn't even think about draining the swamp. We're draining the swamp. Resisting urge to get political. All right, one slight thing. Uh, the Romans actually did drain the swamp. Anyway, who are the Etruscans? Oh man, the Etruscans live in Italy, and they are part of an Iron Age culture that mostly starts in this northern region of Italy, right up in here. Boom, there we are. Now, the Etruscans came from another culture called the Villanovan culture, who were the first Iron Age people in Italy. The Villanovans were kind of like the proto versions of the Etruscans. The Etruscans were basically the Villanovans once they had contact with the wider world. Let me show you some maps here, because I have maps of these people too. I go digging for maps online. I love this stuff. All right, so here's Villanova. Boom. The green area is centers of Villanovan culture. Did the Carthaginians have any physical culture? They did, and I'm going to save that for later. This is sort of a sampler plate episode, and I'm definitely going to show and come back to all of these people in later dates. Odd disbursement or odd distribution of settlement. Yes, that is an interesting point to make. It is not a contiguous culture, and I can actually show you why. So I'll show you that there's a big mountain range that runs right down the middle of Italy. These are called the Apennines. And that this region back over here and this sort of little coastal region right around in here are kind of the only really decent farmland pieces until you get all the way up into the north into this region, which is called the Po River Valley. So the Villanovans are a little bit spread out because just the habitation of Italy was a little bit spread out. Use all that raise money to buy a new computer. Yeah. Yeah. Not enough, Kyle. Not enough. About maybe half of what I would need to build a good computer. Such is life. I got a job and I got a raise. It was a 1% raise, but I'm not complaining about it. I'm happy. I'm happy to still be employed in the world where so many people are not. Just cashed the check that Trump sent. Hasn't sent me a check yet. We could build you a computer. We're only in Georgia. I could build. Isn't inflation 2.5%? About that, yeah. About that. Anyway, I built the computer that I use up front. The computer that I'm streaming from is not the best computer in the house, but it's also the only one that I can reliably move around and set up in here. This room is sort of been kind of set up, I guess, to stream. So I would have to lug my big desktop back and forth because I also game up on the front computer, and that would be an annoying thing to do. I don't really want to do all of that. So I stream from my laptop, which is a really, really nice laptop, but it's getting a little bit up in age, and I need to get some upgrades, but that's down the pipe. You all don't want to sit here and listen to me gorse about tech stuff. You're here to hear history. Apennines, Villanovans. All right, so the Villanovans are going to be pretty cool. They are basically the indigenous people of Italy. These are the people that lived there from the first big wave of people moving in. They're going to have some contact with the Celtic people that moved through. We talked a couple of streams ago about the Celts, big Stone Age group of people, and the Villanovans are going to pick up some of the habits of the Celtic people, especially cremation. Did I miss the odd distribution of the settlements? Kyle, mostly it's because of the geographic layout of Italy. There aren't really good places for farmland, so you have to go where the farmland is. like here along the coastal valleys. Down in here and down in here. So this big middle area is very rocky, and it's good for growing grapes, but you're not going to be able to live on just wine. I know some people that think they might be able to, but you can't live on just wine. So over time, the Villanovans are going to start expanding. You can try. I don't know. Never had wine, but that's another whole story. So, more for you all. You need hard liquor on occasions. Oh, man. Whatever gets you through the day that doesn't kill you, right? Or hurt you, or hurt somebody else. Be responsible, everybody. How about that? I'll just say be responsible and leave it at that, right? The Villanovans are not going to have a writing of their own. Excuse me just a second. I need to clear my throat. Better. Yes. Okay. So the Villanovans are eventually going to come into contact with the Greeks, and the Greeks are going to sort of kickstart a lot of changes within the Villanovan culture that get us to arrive at the Etruscan culture. The Etruscans are going to expand pretty rapidly. They're going to take over most of Italy, this entire northern region. There's a river right here called the Po River. It's just P-O. Po River. They're going to take over the Po River Valley, this big northern chunk of Italy up here, all the way down this coastline. They're going to start expanding to some of these little islands. Well, not little islands. Some of the islands out in the Mediterranean. They're going to run into the Carthaginians. And they're going to have an uncomfortable relationship with the Carthaginians. They're going to trade with them a lot. But they're also going to fight with them a lot. They're going to have arguments over who controls these islands in the Mediterranean. But the Etruscans are pretty neat. Eventually, we're going to end up with... I've got lots of pictures for the Etruscans that I'm supposed to be showing you. I'm sorry. Let me show you pictures. Before I do that, I'm going to put on the adventure hat again, because these are things that I've been to see. The Etruscans had a group of cities in this region that they called the Dodecapolis. It's a group of 12 big cities that were all run by Etruscan leadership that were sort of the group leaders of all of the larger Etruscan culture. Hydroxychloroquine, so Genazatine. Ooh, given how many people stream, you're actually the top 1.7% of the smallest human track. There we go. There we are, Graythor. Adventure hats. What kind of boats were they using to establish these island colonies? Big paddle boats is not too far off there, Joe. They're going to have not flat bottom boats or round bottom boats. They're going to have oars. They're probably going to have some version of sails, but not the best sails. Most of the stuff that they're using around this time is going to be really heavily reliant on the rowing. The earliest boats are only going to have one row of rowers, but later, especially Carthage, is going to develop a giant navy with lots of different people, like biremes and triremes, where they'll have 2 and 3 different levels of rowers with hundreds of people rowing at one time. Crazy, crazy big boats. Technically ships, I would say. All right, so pictures. Oh, don't do that. Oh man, is this whole thing going to mess up on me? Stinky. Oh, OBS. How much I don't like you right now. Yep, it's doing that thing where it doesn't like the fact that I cut the stream. Ugh, now what to do? What to do? Should I cut the stream again so that I can show pictures? I don't like that. I don't like that idea at all. Let me see if I can do something on the fly. second. Give me just a second. I'm going to fiddle around with something. See if I can make this on the go. Just a second. Sorry, this is the greatest stream ever that you're about to see. 1 second, please. Hello. Can you all hear me? I think you can probably hear me right now. Greatest stream ever hype. Sound is good. All right. Let me see. Display capture. Nope. Window capture. Of course not. And nothing. This is the worst thing ever. Well, stink-a-doodle. Man, that's horrible. I'm really frustrated with this whole Discord. Not Discord, Discord. That's what we could do. How about that? The Pooh River. Yeah, that's kind of what we're floating on right now. I'm really sorry. When OBS goes crazy like this, for some reason, it just will not recognize images at all. It hates them for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our Discord channel, which is here, and I'm just going to post pictures. And we can talk about them like this. Boom. Okay, so the first picture that I'm uploading is a picture of Etruscan urns. Urns are things that you put dead people in. You burn their bodies, you put them in a jug, and you put them in this giant urn. If you want to be a cracker hacker, yes. I am not paying the bills with my mad programming skills right now, if that's what you're after. So if you want to go over to the Discord, you can see Etruscan urns. They're big, they're made out of stone, and they have pretty cool stuff. Let me show you another one. One of the things that the Etruscans are known for is their burials. And they buried people in these big things that are called tumuli. And a tumulus looks like this thing. It's a fake hill, sort of similar to the Celtic barrows that I covered a little bit earlier when we were talking about Celtic people, but these are a lot more elaborate. And the insides of these tumuli are going to be pretty friggin' impressive kind of things. This particular one is at a place in Italy called Cerveteri. I can spell that for you if you want. One of the cooler places that I've ever been in Italy. Crossover extravaganza. Yeah, I know. Welcome, John Chilled, to the Discord. So there you go. There's an Etruscan tumulus. And again, like you can go down inside these. And that one right there is not even a big one. That's kind of a baby tumuli. Some of these have multiple chambers. They're almost as big as a house under one of these fake hills. And I could show you a pretty neat little picture of... oh, is that really not going to turn the right way? Let me see. Hopefully this will show up. There we are. I just put a picture of my wife inside one of these tumuli with me. And she's actually sitting on a chair that is carved into the bedrock of the underground part of this tumulus. because you could go visit your dead family and like go down into these tumuli here and hang out. There's actually a little window there to her left so that you could look over into the other chamber. Just to her right would have been a slab where there was a dead person that would have been lying there. Yeah, these took a long time to carve, and they did. And this particular site of Cerveteri, there are hundreds of different burial places. There are probably, in the area that you can go visit, there are probably 30 plus individual tumuli that you can go look at. And you can climb down into a lot of them. You can climb down into some of them that you're not supposed to climb down into. But lots of cool stuff. And they get a lot of this from their run-ins with the Celtic peoples. Remember, the Celts are big about burying their kings in barrows. Some of this also comes from Indo-European influence. You can see tumuli being built all over the ancient world. I've been to some in Jordan. I've been to some in Greece. I've been to some in Turkey. Lots of work. And I have lots more pictures of these too, if anybody is interested. But one more picture here about the Etruscans, and then we'll kind of move on a little bit. Shane admitting to some mild B&E on an internationally recorded stream. Not the first time I've done that. This particular map is in Italian. I apologize for those of you that can't read Italian. Some of the best maps from Italy are in Italian. But you can see the dark green color there right around the coastline of the Tyrrhenian Sea is the Etruscan region. The lighter brown area is the area that they came to control over time. And if you'll note, there is a little dot that says Roma, because the Etruscans end up taking over Rome, which is actually a city right now. And which brings us to the last topic of discussion tonight, which is the foundation of Rome. So, good old-fashioned Rome, which we've talked a little bit about tonight, being a kind of a marshy area around some hills, which is how it started. But the city of Rome is founded during this period of time. This, well, you're not doing me anything, window, go away. And why are you loading? You go away too. I'm talking to the programs on my computer as if they can understand me. The brothers Romulus and Remus decided to make a city, right? So the traditional date of the founding of Rome is 753 BC. They're twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, who, depending on the story, were either cast-off children of a great warrior or a king or somebody. They end up growing up and being raised by a wolf in the wilderness. And the last picture that I will share with you is one of the most famous images that you'll see. I can't type and talk at the same time. You all know this. That's actually not how it went, according to the legend. For those of you that don't know, the two brothers are raised by a wolf. I've shared a picture here of what is probably the most famous image of this, where, and this particular statue comes from the city of Siena. It's claimed to be the original statue that was originally in Rome, that got stolen by some barbarians when the barbarians sacked the city, and the good Sienese people, having the virtue and the value of the good fashioned Roman culture, saved the statue, but they didn't give it back to Rome. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So the concept goes like the two brothers, they grow up, they're both powerful, they start founding a city, and they decide to do their own kind of thing, and Romulus starts digging this big ditch around the city to mark it as a religious boundary. It's called a pomerium. And Remus starts walking across this magical religious barrier with all of his armor on and with his weapons, And Romulus is like, whoa, dude, back up. You're not supposed to, break my sacred barrier here by bringing all of your arms and weapons in. And Remus kind of makes a joke about it and then jumps back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, so Romulus kills him. There we are. You read that as Wharf Milk at first. Oh, the Romulans. This is not Warbirds. Oh, those Romulans. Or is it Birds of Prey? I can't remember what the name of the Romulan ship is. I was always a Star Wars fan. I like Star Trek, but I never really paid as much of attention to it. Sorry, Star Trek fans. Anyway, Birds of Prey. There we are. So, Birds of Prey is Klingon, though. So, I was wrong. What's the Romulan ship called? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, worst games if I'm not touching you. Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, so this is what's going on in this period of time. This 700s and 600s period of time in the Iron Age is really important because you start seeing all of these new characters. This is like buying a game and unlocking the new fighting characters as you go through time, right? So we started off with like Egypt and Elam and Babylon and Assyria and the Hittites and Mitanni, but now we've unlocked Scythians and Etruscans and Romans and Greek city-states and Carthaginians. Romulan warbird. There we are. I knew it was something to do with birdie things. There we go. That's what I was thinking. Civilization. Always getting bigger, right? And it always does get bigger. That's what's crazy. Imagine how hard it's going to be for me to cover all of the stuff that's going on in like the 200s when we have about 50 different civilizations. The game. Oh, yeah, I love Civilization as a game. That game is amazing. I played Civ 5. I haven't played Civ 6 yet. I do have it, but I don't. Mega City 1 is coming? Yeah, right. Where we all merge our culture into the future. Assimilate. All right. So there is that. Thank you all for being accommodating when things go crazy. I didn't actually finish up with the Roman stuff. We know that Rome was a city and that populations lived there going back somewhere around the 800s. So probably earlier than the actual 753 foundation is when the city started, but it's so hard to determine exactly what's there because it's been built on top of about a bajillion times that we might not ever really know. We do know that the early Romans were ruled by kings and that later on those kings are going to be chosen by and even later kings are Etruscans because the Etruscans are going to be expanding and they beat the Romans up and take over. Does that magic circle story have anything to do with the rule that no soldiers were allowed inside the city? Absolutely. That is exactly where it comes from. The Roman word is pomerium, and it is a sacred religious boundary that separates the religious part of the city from the non-religious part of the city, and you were not supposed to bring arms under armies into the pomerium, which is why stuff like getting a triumph was so important because you got to bring your army inside and sort of parade through, but also why you weren't supposed to have armies inside the city to begin with because it's a sacred boundary. You're not supposed to break it. Good call there, Joey. Absolutely good call. All right, ladies and gents. So that is Vatican City now. Right. Except for the Swiss Guard who have machine guns and funny pants. Vatican City does have a big wall around it now, though. Okie dokie. So that brings me to the end of my discussion. You love the Swiss Guards. They do have some funky looking clothes, though, just for real. All right, so I am done, but we are not done. I need to go over to the control panel and set myself up. Video creator dashboard. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba. I'm trying to find the thing to do. Where are you? Maybe that's in Streamlabs. I'm trying to find the giveaway option here. Halberd ceremonially, MP90s functionally. Yeah, really. Let's look at things to do. It's in Streamlabs. Yeah, I figured it would be. I'm not particularly pleased with the Streamlabs right now. It's being a jerk. Sub goal, poll, spin wheel, jar, stream boss, and credits, tap to review account, follower goal, mute, share, Streamlabs, emote wall. See, this is what happens when my wife wants to give something away and I'm not prepared for it. This is all on me. I should have been looking at this when she said, hey, I want to do some artwork to give away. I should have at that moment gone, I probably should figure out how to do that. It's got to be in the cloud bot there, right? This is the most boring stream I think I have probably ever done. And I really apologize for this. Polls, bettings, giveaways. There we go. Let me see if I can add a giveaway. I'm going to do a custom giveaway. Name. Permission everybody, duration, no, not 30 minutes. No, I don't want to do 30 minutes. Let's do 2 minutes. Because I think that's long enough. Well, let's do 3. All right, let's see if this works. Set a prize. All right. Let me see if this works. Let's see. Is it going to work? Yes. Okay. So you need to type !raffle. Yay, they are actually coming in. Yes, so the picture looks like this. It is the Assyrian King starter pack. And it has a good old picture of your Assyrian king. And it shows you all the cool stuff that you need to be a good Assyrian king, like a cool hat, and a beard made of ramen noodles, and some cool wristwear with a little guy there, and a pine cone. You gotta have a random pine cone, right? And then a name with greater than or equal to 4 syllables. This might be Tiglath-Pileser. It might be Ashurnasirpal. Who knows? Let's see. It should be free for everybody. Hats, beards, and pine cones. Mississippi is full of potential emperors. Perhaps so. So, exclamation point raffle if you'd like to join. We have a minute 25 left. Oh, wow. So I'm going to have to just sit here and talk for a minute and 25 seconds. I'm sure I could do that, right? Let's see who else is online. How about that? Maybe we can start looking for a raid while I'm doing this. Maybe we can start looking. Well, that's if everybody joins. Right now we only have 9 people joined. And I don't think Brittany's going to join, so. And it would probably be rude if I joined, though I am I really want to keep this. And she's like, no, you've got to give it away. Dang it. So, I'm going to give it away. Like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. If I won, that would be funny. I don't think I have the. I don't think I have the right to enter. I think that would be really disingenuous of myself to enter my own raffle. Looks like Cave Geek is streaming. We can go raid Cave Geek here in just a bit. I think that will be where we'll head, unless anybody else has any suggestions. Alrighty. Time to pick a winner. Let's see who we get. Pick a winner. Joey the Saint has won a picture. Cool. All right, Joey. Whisper me. Joey, if you would send me a whisper with your name and address. It's going to take me a little bit because I don't currently have international stamps. But I will figure out how to make it work, Joey. Congratulations. You get the Assyrian King starter pack. All right. That was fun. And you could email me. Yeah. So there's my email address if you want to send it to me by email if you'd prefer that. So there we go. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it. Hope everybody had a good time. If you want to, send whispers to my wife, Brittany McInnes, and tell her that you want more artwork. I don't know. That might persuade her to do more artwork. She's a really great artist, by the way. If you go to Instagram and do Brittany McInnes art, you can see more of her art. She doesn't like me promoting her stuff, but I'm the one that promotes all of her stuff. So there we go. All right. Let's see. You'll send me a message on mail or Discord. That's cool. That's fine. Ooh, yeah. Run. However you need to get it to me. Do your thing. Okay. Yeah, so I think we're going to go raid the Cave Geek. We've been on his channel before. He's been in the room. He does words. I can't say words. He does art. And he makes traditional style maps on leather using all natural techniques and all sorts of really cool stuff like... there's a word for it where you burn leather. I can't remember the word for it, but it's really cool. Cool stream. Usually good music. Nice guy. Our cry, as always, will be adventure. And we will throw all sorts of adventure hats in the chat. If you would like to go ahead and redeem those, please do so. Also, before we go, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance. If you want to redeem any of your channel points or adventure points to do adventure types of things, feel free to do so now. And I will give you a little bit of a pause while I take a sip of water, waiting to see if any of those are going to come in. You don't have to. You don't have to feel pressured. Let's slip the puppy of war. Well, there comes the puppy. The puppy actually just went up front, so let me call her, which inevitably means that she's going to have the chicken when she comes back up here. So prepare. Oh yes, she has a chicken. Come here. Come and see me. Come and see me. Hey, come here. Come here. Come right here. Come here. Come and see me. Oh yes. Oh, there's, and there she just left. Hey, where are you going? Come here. Your loving audience wants to see you. Hey, come here. It's okay. Here, come here. Come here. Come here. Oh yes, there we go. There we are. Can I have the chicken? Can I have the chicken? This will get her to stay, right? Arr. Arr. This thing is so disgusting. Arr. Arr. Can you look right here? No, you just want the chicken and you want to go away? Alright, so there's the puppy. Yeah, I know. I think she would probably cry if we watched that. We probably do need to watch that. Does she wait by the dryer when you wash it? No, she'll pout. She has this pout pose where she'll cuddle up, but she'll stick like one leg out, and it's always like the back leg, and she'll just kind of like... She's so pouty. Anyway, there's the puppy. Alright, so let's do the raid. Let me go back over here and get this thing rolling. Anybody want to do any more point stuff? Lots of new stuff in there. Well, not lots of new stuff. I put some new stuff in there. Everybody, please feel free. That's what they're there for. I know everybody loves the puppy, and that the puppy is like the star of the show, and I'm okay with that. I've accepted my secondary role to the stream. All right, so let's go raid Cave Geek. We will yell adventure. We will throw hats. And we'll have a good old time. Thank you all so much for coming out. Have a good one. I will see you all next Tuesday for a viewer request episode where we will discuss the history of bookmaking and printing, which I think is going to be an interesting topic. I hope to see you around. Until then, stay safe, do something nice for somebody, and remember that we're all much more the same than we are different. So let's gonna go raid. I'm going to hit the button, and I'm going to throw up the out screen, and I will see you all on the flip.